Greetings and salutations, people. It's Sunday, and, well, if some of you tried to watch my stream on Thursday, you would have seen that it didn't work. We couldn't figure out what was going on, and, well, I've finally had to tinker in the internals of Streamlabs OBS, the sort of the broadcasting software that connects your computer to YouTube for the purposes of live streaming, and I had to go in and figure out how and why all of in the deep recesses of the software, the default settings for audio inputs had all been turned from default to disabled, and I had to turn them all back on multiple times before I would finally go, hey, yeah, this is a good idea, we should actually be on. So, at least for now, we're good to go. So thanks for your patience, for those of you who tried on Thursday to join me. And we chatted extremely briefly in the live chat, but that was about it. So, anyway, I'm happy that people are here. There's a bit of an echo, of course there is. Bad echo in the background. Well, there is literally only one microphone hooked up to my computer, so I have no idea what it's called. What's the issue here? Let's see. Yeah, OBS is using my microphone. It should be, according to my computer. I have no idea why it's echoing. Hey, Alpice, he says he thinks our host may not like too much. I think I'm being slightly throttled right now. I don't know for sure. I've noticed the last couple of weeks a rather precipitous drop-off on the weekend content. That's usually a bellwether, it's usually the canary in the coal mine for me is the weekend stuff, because I know exactly how much of those are going to get watched, within like 10% view counts. And they're about 2/3 of what they should be most of the time. Like 10 hours, or almost 12 hours after I made my St. Bernard video public, it hasn't got hit 1,000 views yet. That's silly low. So I think I am. I've noticed it in a couple other things too. And it's not as big of a throttling as before, and it's not as big as Dr. Marshall is getting right now. He mentioned on his live stream, or on his analysis of I think it was of a Vegano letter, that he was getting, our lovely hosts were playing funny games with him. And if you look at his view counts, you can tell. So, but if you also look at the video titles, that'll tell you why. But enough about other people. We're here, we're live, we're at 62 concurrent viewers, so hit that little notification bell, and I recommend, going to the sources blog and, maybe getting a notification there, because virtually all my videos, except the weekend ones, get linked on there. And if it's like a news-related weekend one, End Times Watch, then I'll put put my sources there so you can read it for yourself. But, I recommend following there and the Facebook page. Although, the new Facebook terms of service say if you've ever been banned in the past, you might not be able to use the platform. And I have been put into, Facebook jail before for sharing spicy memes, and so who knows what's going to happen on October 1st when this all goes into effect. But, yeah. Mimi says it is smoky in Portland, Oregon. Very much so. I saw some of the pictures from the West Coast, and it's pretty spooky looking out there. Do you have your microphone and sound control panel set to listen to device? Asks kind of average Catholic. I don't think so. I had to go into my settings here in Streamlabs to turn everything back on multiple times before it would finally take. That's the thing. So yes, I know there's not echo. I know. I have no idea why that's the case. At least we can stream now. Elpice, you like my vids, buddy? What happened? What do you mean? Are you not getting notifications anymore, Elpice? Because if you're not, I recommend you either just checking the channel or following on Facebook, because I post everything there, and you'll see them. Yes, Yavo, I know there's an echo. I can stop streaming if it helps. Yes, I'm aware there's an echo, and I guess I should just turn this off because that's all I was talking about. Let's see. Let me go into audio settings here again, and let's go see what happens. Let's turn off everything but desktop 1. There. Hold on. Got mic 3 is what it's coming up. Is the echo on still or not? Because I'm playing with this to make this as decent quality for you guys as possible, but is there still echo? Okay. Good. Very good. Yeah, I don't know why it did that. I don't know why it did that. Mimi says, is it, I don't want to say that word, or the sovereign is the word I'm going to start using. It's all along the I-5 corridor. That's fascinating, isn't it? I will say that I have saved in an email links on Twitter to 20 or so, or like to several different mainstream news articles about people being apprehended in the act of trying to do that stuff. This isn't from, knowledgeconflict.com with the humble water filter salesman trying to, let us know stuff. No, this is from Fox 12 and KPTV in Portland and these other places talking about this stuff. So what I might do is write a piece for the sources blog. There's no way I can make a video on that, right? I might make a piece for the sources blog and put it up there so people can read it and have all the links to these things in one place, because I'm guaranteeing you, this is a little weird. It's a little weird, the stuff going on over there. Right where they want to put the super train. Oh, that's fascinating. I did not know. There's one thing that I found interesting is there are people talking about directed energy things, and that you don't need that when you've just got people who have been caught in the act, right, by actual law enforcement. I'm not saying it's the Bureau of Land Management, that acronym, or the the Agents of Chaos or anything like that. It might just be damaged people doing it. I don't know, but I don't buy. This is another one of those. I don't buy the official narrative because I've been reading about this. Louis de Montfort, I will tell you that, one, I can't use the A word on my channel at all. So, but two, Francis has said all the right things on that issue. Said. However, he also has, the international types who show up who are very much on the opposite side of that issue, on the wrong side of that issue from us. And he works closely with them, so I don't know what to think. I err on the side of the worst being true, but that's about all I can say. All of that African polar bears just saw a report of the speed of IS group in north of Mozambique. I don't know what you're talking about, all of that African polar bears. El Pais, being an excommunicated doesn't remove from office. It's excommunicated cardinal is still a cardinal. This has happened before. Right, we've actually had popes who have been declared heretics, and they're still counted among the popes. I've never understood the actual side of a contest argument on this, because it doesn't jive with the history of the church. It just doesn't. Honorius was still pope. Now, part of the thing with Francis is the allegation is he has said things that were heresy, and held two positions before he was elected pope. That I don't know where it goes along, how that goes into the history of the church or not. CF Healing anti-fae, yes, as in the fairy folk from oh gosh, what are those Harry Dresden novels and things? Right? Yes. Go Blue says they took off the Fatima movie on YouTube. I mean, that movie had been out for a month at this point. It's probably why they took it down. T-Storm says caught in the act of doing what? Well, the things going on in there, right? The orange and red skies on the West Coast. There were people caught in the act of starting the things causing that. Mimi, I don't go look at random YouTubers for things like that, because any moron can go put a video up. Look at me, I put videos up all the time, and I'm kind of a moron. So, I'm not going to go look at random people online just because they say something. It doesn't work that way, unfortunately. Captain Birdseye, can we vote to call your stream on the new encyclical Pachamama 2 Brotherhood? Something like that, probably. Say something like moon worshippers or whatever. Yeah. Yeah, they're like Easter worshippers. Well, we'll call them Halloween worshippers. How's that? Jessica Heckle, curious my thoughts on Eric Kajewski. What do I think he's credible? Well, you will not find anybody who knows more about prophecy than him. And I show up on his show about once a month. So, he has me on and we talk about things going on. Do I agree with everything he says? No. He knows I don't agree with everything he says. I don't think he's a bad person. I don't buy the buys subscribers thing. That doesn't make any sense with that, given how he does what he does. Fam says the main problem with seeds is they mistake formal heresy with occult heresy manifested in the external form. See John Sauls' site for more info. Okay, I'll take your word for it. I've not spent a lot of my time trying to dunk on this set of a contest. I find that to be actually counterproductive. I'm the guy who thought the Unite the Clans thing was dead because it was basically SSPX on one side and diocesan Novus Ordo that's reverent on the other, and everybody in between being invited in, but no SSPX resistance and no set of contests and anybody of actual goodwill who wants to work with each other. That's why I was like, this isn't going to last, and it didn't. So check the video, Papal Infallibility by Father Gregory Hess. You have all the precedents you need for weird heretic popes and even partially unacceptable councils, i.e. Constance. Right, Peter of Jerusalem, member of the channel, says, I am a big fan of the late, great Father Gregory Hess. And now if you hear a rumbling, by the way, being picked up by my mic, that would be my next door neighbor on his riding lawnmower cutting his grass. So there you go. And no, they're not Catholic, so that's why they're doing it on a Sunday. Mimi says I am not a moron. I don't know. I do some pretty dumb stuff. I mean, I had to go to confession last night. You ever notice, by the way, that mortal sin, if you know and love our Lord, committing mortal sin is kind of a dumb thing. We all go to confession. We all commit mortal sins. And no, I'm not going to tell you what they were. That's between me, my confessor, and God. But, it's a dumb thing to do. That's why I suspect that's why we get called sheep, right? Go Blue says the president spoke in Nevada yesterday, and there's a lot of people. Yeah, I saw that. I saw a cool picture of the motorcade going through Las Vegas, down the Vegas Strip, I think they still call it. It was a pretty cool picture. Louis de Montfort, the reason I can't say it is because they don't care about getting throttled. I do. They don't care. I do. I can't do it because when a video... So here's what happens when a video gets demonetized. They say this isn't true, but I've seen the analytics on my own videos. They only get sent out as a recommended video to half of my audience, than as usual, and virtually no one who isn't subscribed. So I had a Vigano letter get demonetized several months ago. A Vigano letter in the first 3 days it's up can get a fair amount of views. This got a third of them in 3 days. It was spooky. So, they don't care, I do. And it's not just the money thing, it becomes a waste of your time to do it. And too much of that and you lose your channel. They don't really care that much, but Michael Matt, I've seen him say on his videos before that they're playing with the algorithm against them again. I expect a purge. I fully expect a purge here in the next month. Who knows what's going to happen. But... yes, Louis, I don't know. Are you new here, Louis de Montfort? Because I've done videos on Francis being in bed with the UN. I've done them. That's part of the reason I'm having trouble with YouTube right now. Pascal says communion on the tongue is back in the SSPX. Awesome. The ban only lasted a few weeks, so there was probably a lot of backlash. That's good. Good. De Montfort, I watched that this morning. Okay. Archbishop Cardleon just went from having only 12 people to 50 allowed at masses held outside. Oh, that's cool. I mean, that's better. You aren't dumb for going to confession. It's dumb if you didn't. No, I know, but committing the sin is dumb. You do it, and then afterwards you're like, well, that was stupid. Why did I do that? Let's see, Thomas Hamilton, you have seen the movie Silence. I have not, because the director of that movie doesn't have a good track record on doing the faith well. Do I recommend? I don't recommend anything from that director. I wouldn't watch that movie. I was shocked that so many Catholics were like, yay, about that, when it seems like all the sources I trust on that movie is that it was a celebration of apostasy. It made apostasy understandable instead of accepting the crown of martyrdom. All of Vatican Polar Bear says the censorship is going to ramp up for your November event. That is guaranteed. That is, yeah, that's. I kind of think that's what's already happened with some of us. Where do you draw the line when you make jokes related to the faith between jokes and being disrespectful, blasphemous? That's a good question. I try to avoid it as much as possible unless the joke is at my own expense. Let's see. I had someone say, do me and my family something, and then it just disappeared on me. That's weird. Even Bishop Barron was harsh on the movie Silence. Right, well, Bishop Barron gets a bad rap. He deserves some of it, but he's not as bad as people make him out to be. He's not a hero of mine. I don't watch his content, and I will correct him when it's necessary. But people like he's a soft target, and people like to go after him instead of harder targets. Healing says Father Isaac blasted the Fatima movie. I'll need to go check his review out. I haven't watched one of his videos in a while. Darius, will I do a video on Marco Tassati's info about pontifical right to diocesan right as a result of Ecclesia Day being absorbed in CDF? See me Tuesday or Wednesday. I'm debating. Oh, there goes that mower again. I'm debating on my on doing my take on the Father Altman thing probably early in the week. Not Monday. I've already got something for tomorrow. But yes, I will do it. I already got the video made for that. So yes. I just don't know what day. All Out of African Polar Bear says, look for jokes from saints. Probably a good thing, like, because they were joy-filled, happy people. So, Sister Lucy Truth offered $1,000 to any relative of Sister Lucy if they provide a DNA sample to one of their investigators. Interesting. That would be cool. Yes, Father Altman does need your prayers. I will agree with those saying that in the chat that he does. So the news channel saying Catholics could use in spite of, if that's all that's available. Yeah, Mimi, I'm not on the same page as the USCCB is on that, on the remedy, as we'll say. It's not something like, if it has those ingredients in it, you should stay as far from it as possible. Healing says, Father Isaac said the Fatima movie was from hell. I mean, a largely empty Fatima, or largely empty hell scene should be your dead giveaway for that. The lack of a call for consecration of Russia, or, the sins of the flesh. All the stuff, the hard stuff from Fatima, which is conveniently gone. Caesar Tambua says the Pope's intentions for the month of November is about praying that that AI is put in service of mankind or something. That's weird. Do you think he has fear of AI and suspects something in November? Trust me, I don't think Francis is paying that much attention to November, other than hoping that the party of Moloch's candidate wins. Honestly, as well. But does he have do you think he's worried about AI? Yes. Any rational person is. It's a weird time to be alive when Elon Musk and the Pope are on the same page about artificial intelligence. But, AI is one of those things that there's a reason that people are so wary of it. Oh, I got it from on good authority. You guys can't hear the mower. That's good. Peter Jerusalem says Father Altman was so full of zeal on Taylor Marshall's show. I haven't actually had a chance to watch it because I want to have my video recorded on that subject before I let myself be influenced by anybody else. And so I want to watch that and just stick to the source, because I'm going to have a different take on it than people. It's not a Father Altman bad take. It's just a different take than a lot of people from what I've seen already. So, but I do plan to watch that, just not immediately. What does the last part of this prayer mean? Glory to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit, as was in the beginning, and now and ever shall be, world without end. Amen. I mean, it's, you know, the you know, I mean, I don't know. It seems on the surface that it's, you know, glory for eternity, right? You know, after we pass, it's at the end of, you know, once we die, it's not over, right? It's the real world at that point. Aaron G, do you hear that that Congress may be getting the Department of Justice onto McCarrick flicks? I call it McCarrick flicks. In fact, I was on Trad Cat Knight's show the other day, and I called it McCarrick flicks, and he thought that was pretty good. But yeah, I hope that they go after them, but don't hold your breath. Too many rich donors, you know. Every seminarian you've met from the rural area has always been more polite and well-rounded than the ones from the city. We aren't meant to live in steel jungles. It destroys the soul in a psychological way. I would tend to agree about that latter statement. All the seminarians I've met most of the ones I met were in Oregon, and half were from the city and half were from the country, and they were all great men, every single one of them. Mimi Rybom can hear the lawnmower. Okay. Why does no one bring up the subject of uniting the SSPX and FSSP and not a group of different guys called clans? Actually, Louis, I would go a different way. I want there to be as many groups who are offering the traditional mass as possible. And in the U.S., that FSSP, SSPX thing is that division you see is apparently, from I have it on good authority. A friend of mine is a world traveler, and he's a Latin Mass only type, and he says that this internal dispute thing you see is mostly an American thing. In Europe, they all, like, you know, you'll have a parish for each of them in a major city, and all three will work together. So on any really fundamental things that are not divided. Maybe it's America's team sports, political culture thing bleeding into the church again, which is really irritating. Thank you, Mr. Baker. Appreciate the thought. He says he appreciates the nuanced take on issues such as Father Altman. It's going to be on something that an angle on this that I've noticed no one's talked about. So, and again, up front, you know, pray for Father Altman. I don't think he did anything wrong, but, you know. Clayton Lee says he can hear the mower a bit, but it's the same noise that he hears in his neighborhood all the time on weekends. That's good, because I don't record during the day. Like, I record my videos between 2 and 3:30 in the morning. Is when I get the audio done, get all the recording done, because I live near a municipal airport, which isn't typically very active on the weekend, which is weird. And during the day, you've got, you know, people driving it's Oklahoma. People drive their big trucks through my neighborhood fast, to the point where I'm a little nervous about my kid playing outside in the future when he's old enough to do it without immediate supervision. Joseph says, the priest today during the sermon asked people to not chew the Eucharist when they receive like it's a piece of gum. Weird. I don't know. I just say, you know, when you receive the Eucharist, you know, break it down quickly and consume it. Don't let it dissolve. Don't let it do anything like that. Just break it down and consume it quickly. Are you getting on with the Seven Sorrows Rosary? You're promoting it currently to others thanks to my video. I'm doing the Seven Sorrows. I'm doing the Seven Sorrows novena, which isn't the Rosary. It's a different thing. But I'm doing the Seven Sorrows novena as it leads up to the Feast of the Feast of Our Lady of Sorrows for my renewal of my consecration. So that's what I'm doing. No problem, Louis de Montfort. Sorry if I got a little testy. Darius D. at St. Louis, both the SSPX and the FSSP were united in defense of Catholic tradition. I think the internal things in North America are an older generation thing from back during the more controversial periods of this stuff. I think that's not a knock against older people. I just think that's just a holdover from that era. I think these days most people are like, hey, just work together, because things are not great right now. Fab says the SSPX and SSPV schools have soccer matches against each other, and I hear the SSPX crushes them. That's interesting. I'm glad to see that they're getting along, and, you know, I'm not personally a fan of the SSPV, but I do like Father Jenkins, so. Go Oh, Blue, you were having a conversation with a Christian. I don't know what denomination, but he said Peter was Satan. I would avoid conversations with someone who thinks that one of the saints, one of the apostles, was Satan. That's weird. I guess this is what happens when you have that personal interpretation stuff. Wish you could have a channel somewhere where you can say anything you want about the truth without fear. People need. Yeah, what's funny is I was putting my unfiltered takes more on the audio only side, and then out of the blue, after a year, if you've ever listened to my audio only stuff, at the beginning I'd always have this, hey, you should launch a podcast. Message me if you need help with it, that kind of thing. And I was getting a little bit of revenue from Anchor. Well, after a year, almost to the day, they announced that it was over, and I almost wonder if that was because they got a complaint, but I didn't technically violate any rules, so they couldn't, do that, so they just ended the campaign. I don't know. It turned out about 10 to 15% of my income, though. Just poof, gone. So, yeah, that happened. But I was putting, like, Vegano's super spicy letter from last month went there, unfiltered, just read verbatim. And I still plan to put stuff there. I would put things on what I call garbage chute, but I call it that for a reason, because it's just after a while people hit clicking play and then it's just not working. I don't know if I can do it. Yes, Papias reminds us that Father Cekada has passed away. He's probably the most famous of the Sedevacantist priests. He's also considered probably the best scholar on the changes to the Mass. And people who fundamentally disagree with the Sedevacantist position still regard him as a wonderful scholar, and almost no one called him not a Catholic, right? I've never taken the Sedevacantist position to be outside the church. I just think it's an error. And he passed away recently. So prayers for the repose of the soul of Father Cekada, please. Darius D, yeah, I think you might be right. He says SSPX canonical irregularity might be a blessing once more with what's happening with Ecclesia Dei. Who knows? Like that's I've got that video made, and I want to make that early in the week, but I think my Father Altman one should probably preempt it. I want to point out that I will not be streaming next Sunday because I will be going, my wife and I and our kid will be driving after Mass in Tulsa north into Kansas to visit the host of the Catholic Economics podcast. So we will be going to visit him. So I might do my a mailbag video because I've gotten some books from people in the last few weeks, and I should probably do something a little more formal with that. One listener, I'll just say it was Dr. Mold, sent a book on home preserving, all about pickling. Those of you who remember when I had the spicy meatball himself on, we were talking about traditional skills and things, and I always wanted to get into pickling because it just seems like a good idea, and homemade pickles are usually way better than anything you buy in the store. So I needed, and I've got that, and the book I mentioned last week, and a book on the devotion of the most precious blood is on my desk from about a month or two before that. So I should probably do a quick mailbag video, and if I do that, that'll probably be for next Sunday instead of the live stream, because I can't live stream next Sunday. I will be in Kansas. So Pascal says everyone in Texas and Oklahoma owns some sort of oversized truck. It seems that way. I drive a Jeep Liberty. That's not a truck. Jeep makes a pretty cool looking truck though. But there's a lot of trucks here. A lot of them. Sound of Chris says we're not in Catholic school. They told us we were not allowed to chew the host. So can we chew it? What I read is you're not permitted to let it dissolve. I would just bite the thing, break it down, and get it, and swallow it. Don't chew it like it's gum, though. Can you put up a fence around my property? I have a fence in the backyard. The front yard, I could do that. I don't know. I mean, there's some things I want to do to that front yard. And the first thing I'm going to do is have... I don't know, do people do this in your part of wherever you're at? Because where I'm from originally, you didn't see this practice so much, but here everybody does it. It seems like they get lawn care guys to come in the late fall, and they do this chemical treatment for your yard that involves this anywhere from green to purple paint that goes on your yard, and they do it several times over the fall and winter. And what it does is it just wipes out the crabgrass and the weeds and things, and makes it so that you can have nice lush grass. And I've never really cared that much about that stuff, but literally everyone else around me has really nice yards, and I just want a yard that won't like take from theirs. That won't be like an eyesore. So I'm going to probably start doing it this fall and winter too. But I never saw that anywhere else, and that's going to be a bigger and probably cheaper priority because who knows what the future holds on this platform. So. Curious, are people so seriously offended by the more? No, they're just pointing out that they can hear it. Darius D says, Trogo means chew. Our Lord wants to remind us what we are eating. John 6 is what we follow, not a priest's take on what we should do. Right, like, I've never heard problems with people, breaking the Eucharist down quickly. I wouldn't treat it like it's gum, and I know you're not supposed to let it dissolve either. Peter Jerusalem, he personally liked the mower. It speaks to your very cliched view of peaceful suburban America. I don't live in suburban America, though. I live in what's called a rural city. There's 30,000 people in my town, but I can drive 5 minutes any direction and be, on someone's farm. Joseph, I don't know why I had to approve your comment, but I had to. Let it sit on your tongue and then until it's wet and swallow it whole. I have no idea why we were talking about the Eucharist, not anything, gross. Lost my spot, so I'll just go to healing. You heard then it was like if I have to pickle to be a trad, yikes. No, but I think it's a prudent healing that people have these kinds of skills. Plus, if we can lessen our dependency on faraway, corporate combines a little bit, then so be it, and these traditional skills are great to have. I want to get back into gardening. I didn't do it at all this year, and I'm probably going to go find some heirloom seeds to order on the internet here not long from now, because who knows what next year will be like. But, I want to grow, pumpkins and potatoes and tomatoes and things. Interesting that in the chat is a quiet debate about chewing or not chewing the Eucharist. This is why I like clear teaching, and we have had a lack of that for 60 years. Tom K says, I need to moat my yard with gators and sharks with lasers on their heads. I like that one, or the movie Police Academy, I think it's 4. I remember those awful movies from when I was a kid. The character who was in love with all the Dirty Harry style things, he had a 10-foot tall razor wire topped fence on his front yard and a sign that said premises protected by minefield. I always thought that'd be fun to get, but that might put off the neighbors a little bit. Peter says, yesterday he heard Satan or a demon saying in his mind that the Catholic Church is a hoax, but immediately replied that means Satan doesn't exist. Right. I mean, although from what I hear also, from what I've heard from priests that in those kind of situations don't even respond, just, say an Ave or a Jesus, I trust in you or something, quick prayer to get it out of your head. Three-seater says he traded his oversized truck in for a RAV4. Okay. I want to, if I were to get a truck, I would get probably the weird looking Jeep pickup truck. The thing is huge. Louis, I can't say what you said in there, but he was hoping essentially that during all the things going on that the SSPX chapels would all be open and they'd be an example of faith for the Novus Ordo. The only high mass available in my state right now, the only one, is at the SSPX chapel in Oklahoma City. The only one. It's interesting. And they're actually closer than my own parishes by about 40 minutes of driving. Pascal Leclerc says there's a lot to be said about a nice lush green yard. Yeah. Again, I just don't want to be the eyesore in the neighborhood. I want my the neighborhood to look nice. And my neighbors all put a lot more effort into it than I do. So if I can increase my effort a little bit, do basic things that'll make it nice, that's fine for me, Have I ever gone cow tipping? Asked Gelbheis. No, I have not. Ghost, who says he and his wife are looking for a house where they can do a lot of gardening. That's a good idea, honestly. Fam says I should do a video with Census Steve from Census Fidelium. That spicy meatballs interview with him was an unexpected delight. I would. I just don't know what we would talk about. Like, I don't want to do anything too spicy for the platform. I'd want to talk about something else, right? So, if I can come up with a topic, I'll happily reach out to him. Mimi says the SSPX was closed up tighter than a drum in Portland. Yeah, my wife was, when she went to visit family recently in Portland, she called everybody, including the SSPX, looking for a Latin Mass. And it was only by chance, or divine intervention maybe, that she was able to go to St. Brigida's. Because there they were having somebody canceled the 1 week she was there. Because they, 3 weeks out is how they're doing it there. Like, you sign up for 3 weeks in advance, and they check you at the door. Ridiculous, but... St. Brigida's is the FSSP parish. She managed to go to Mass, so. AMDG says, thanks for the videos on the saints. I appreciate the kind words that you said in that message. I'll probably this coming week have something, end times watch. Maybe I'll do one about orange skies and red skies. I don't know. That stuff coming out of California, though, especially, is very spooky. Very, very spooky. Your SSPX chapel allowed for reception of the Eucharist, but didn't do Mass for a few weeks. That's sad, but at least you still got the Eucharist, and I'm guessing if you went there for the Eucharist, you could probably go to confession, too. Shoppy Awesome's happy shorts. The great user handle, by the way. Love your vids. Thank you. Sometimes it feels as if there's no hope. Hard to heaven when half priesthood are wicked. Yeah, I mean, this is why I try to do positive stuff on the weekends. A video on the saints is always positive. A video on a feast day is always a positive thing. The papal encyclicals, even if they're about kind of heavy subjects, they're always a positive thing. So, I just try to do that, but people say you never talk good news. Well, if I do an actual good news video, no one watches it. So these things take enough time that I have to be careful about that. Healing says he heard the city garden home was wow, really? I hadn't heard that, and I've got a lot of family and friends in Portland. In fact, my mom showed me a map of where all that stuff is going on, and she doesn't live that far from garden home, and there was nothing anywhere near her. Dr. Mole says the issue with pickling is you're depending on the availability of vinegar and cheap energy. If you want to go really basic, you need to try fermented pickles. All you need is salt in the vegetables. True. Yeah, I think I'll start with the regular, the hobby pickling before I go into frontier style salt and vegetables and hoping for the best. But no, it's a good idea, and thank you for the book. I appreciate it. Flaherty says, laughing at my Police Academy reference. Yeah, I don't know. I know those. I remember. I again, not a recommendation. Those movies are, So, but I remember those some of the gags from it fondly. I can't remember was that Michael Winslow, the guy, the sound effects guy, and I love him so much. Three Cedars Homestead says daily conventual high mass at Clear Creek Abbey. So there is a high mass in Oklahoma. That one's only 2.5 hours from my house, though. Son of Chris says, I think you should be able to chew the body and swallow it fast. In Byzantine Catholic Mass, they receive it and then sing not long after, so they must have broken it down and swallowed it. Right, in the Byzantine Rite, they're actually using leavened bread, if I'm not mistaken. So I don't understand, I honestly don't understand the debate that much. Elbhai says the SSPX was 2/3 of Ireland's ordinations. Wow. Vatican II era is temporary. I think you're right about that. I honestly think that the church is in a self-imposed convulsion right now, and it's going to come out of it one way or the other. Luke Zaire says, there's a public high mass every day at Clear Creek Abbey in Oklahoma. Yep, that's what I've been told. Okay. So I'm wrong. There is a high mass at Clear Creek Abbey in Oklahoma. 2.5 hours from my house. Mustard seed. What does cow tipping mean? It means going up to a cow and pushing it over while it's sleeping. I don't know why people do this. Sound of Chris says, if your back hurts, consider a raised garden so you do not need to bend all the time. Well, with my knee the way it is, which is not really a knee problem so much anymore as it is a strained calf pulling into my foot problem when I really need to go see the doctor about that. But actually, I do want to get raised planters anyway because I think they're cool and I suspect they're easier to weed than a normal garden is. I think you get better weed control that way too. Try hydroponics, Darius says. Really cheap microgreens. Yeah, no, if I had the resources, I would. Yeah, Louis Montfort, I don't disagree with anything you're saying there about what Lenin said about America. I don't know if I can say any of that, but I will tell you that I don't disagree. It's really fascinating watching this happen in real time. I don't think they're going to be successful, though. Judging from people's reaction to certain things, like go watch what's happening with pro sports right now, you'll see that people have had enough. Mimi Rydeboom, they have the Latin Mass at St. Stephen's in Northeast. Yep, the parish I was married in. And it's a low Mass, if I'm not mistaken. On the subject of farm animals, did you hear about the horse mutilations in France? And no, Tom, I did not hear about that. That's really fascinating, actually. And I lost my spot again. Oh, there it is. It's irreverent to not receive on the tongue with a communion plate. The irreverence is where desecration happens. That is the irreverence. Yes, Pablo, I agree. And I still had people saying some really weird stuff about the fact that I, sided with Bishop Schneider on that debate. Xenia says she's driving home from Vermont with some pepper relish that your son can. Oh, that's cool. You can get I can't remember the name of it. And here in Oklahoma, you can get some really weird pepper relish. I live in the part of Oklahoma that was heavily settled by Czech Catholics, and there's a Prague, Oklahoma, not far from me. Prague, spelled like Prague, the National Shrine of the Infant Child of Prague, is located there. And you would think that, Catholic center, well, there's not that many Catholics here. Not anymore. It's like 6% of the whole state population, and I suspect most of them are in the Oklahoma City area, to be honest with you. But, yeah, and you can get that product there, so. Doodle Noodle says, just stay positive. The gospel is the good news. Jesus, our blessed hope, you already won. Yes, also keep in mind the things that we're going to have to get through to get from here to there, though. Xenia says she pulls crabgrass. You just need curb appeal. Yeah, it's already too far gone for me to do that, though. Try refrigerator dill spear, says JKR. I may look that up later. Mimi lives in Beaverton. Okay, very cool. I used to live in Beaverton. I used to live in Beaverton over in the Quatama area, or the Quatama was how I always said it, Quatama area. On my side of, what street was that? 231st, I think. We were in Beaverton. The other side of 231st was technically in Hillsboro. To give you an idea where I used to live. Right by a Max station. Sound of Chris says, make sure your stomach acid is in the right levels for pickled food. Fun fact, one of the reasons I stopped doing keto recently was because my stomach couldn't handle it anymore. And so I had to stop. So I'm now getting my body used to carbs again so I can just do macro calorie counting. It's annoying, but... And I lost my spot. Healing says, you're pretty freaked out about the church stuff. I think the stuff with Pope Francis is pretty clearly evident of a different... Yeah, Healing, I think you're right about that. This is why I keep bringing it up. It reminds me of the Alta Vendita. It's like we're living in that. Now, you always got to be careful, though, when you're seeing the stuff happen, that you're not just, that you're not reading too much into it. I mean, who knows? But then again, it could be way worse. I think it's actually worse than any of us really realize, though. AMDG, I've tried literally everything to kill that crabgrass. All I've succeeded in doing is killing the grass around the crabgrass. That stuff is like the Terminator of crabgrass. It's so annoying. Joseph says your organ broke, so we had a high mass with no organ. Interesting. For the longest time, my parish had, when we'd have high mass, we didn't have an organ with it. It was a cappella. Oh, good to know, Dr. Mold, about bulk canning being a great resource, and they use too much sugar. I will remember that, because I'm not wild about sweet pickles. Phone says, with a $5 super chat, what is the conversion process for valid Protestant baptized people, and do you have recommendations? Asking for a friend. Thanks for the content. Glad to help, and thank you again for the super chat. I will say that it's going to be RCIA. I used to be on the RCIA team at my old home parish in Portland, and the way it would work is it was very similar to non-baptized people. You would go through RCIA, and at least in my parish, it started. The first class was, what is God? Was the question they were answering. You would do that, and then they would go through that process from like that basic question to sort of Christianity 101 with a Catholic bent, and then right around Christmas it would turn and flip to and then really zero in on Catholicism. And if they're baptized, they will enter the church on Easter, and they'll receive the sacrament of confirmation and Eucharist and all the rest of it on Easter Sunday at typically the Easter Vigil. However, they are going to want some sort of proof that it was a valid baptism. So you're going to need to get some kind of record from your parish or have an affidavit signed. So like my wife is a convert, and she was baptized in a river. So she had to like pull a hat trick to get that proof, but it'll be fine. They'll work with you. I actually don't like the RCIA process for a number of reasons. Like, I mean, if your friend is extremely knowledgeable about Christianity, they may be given a pass for a lot of those RCIA courses, or just meet on the side with your permanent deacon or whatever. But I'm not a fan of the RCIA process, partially because the people who aren't baptized get baptized at the Easter Vigil, and they start the process in August or September. That is a long time to go without baptism once you decide you want it. I would rather they got baptized early on, as long as they made it abundantly clear that they still needed to be confirmed. Eric, what are my thoughts on the SSPX? I have no problem with the SSPX. I am not anti-SSPX in the slightest. El Pipes saw a video of a guy trying to... Yep, I saw that too. Video of a guy trying to abscond with a girl during lunch with her family, like right out in the bright of day in front of everybody. That guy got jumped on pretty quick. I feel like society is completely just going bonkers right now, and I think that video is a good evidence of it. Aaron Hook says, cow tipping is cruel. On the other hand, bishop tipping is a public service. And then when they're on their heads, it makes the pressure off their brains and makes their speech a lot less muffled. He is, of course, joking. Thank you for the super chat, Healing. It is appreciated. Blue Sky says, what is crabgrass? It's a broadleaf grass. I had times during the summer where the temperature was not in that sweet spot for the grass to grow rapidly. So literally the only part of my lawn growing was the crabgrass, and I still had to mow the whole thing. It was annoying. It's another word for moss. Uses biological washing powder poured on affected areas before shower or rain. It kills no problem. It's not the same as moss. Pablo D is answering Kim about the remedy that at least the company Moderna doesn't use that ingredient. So that's good. Do your research, and I personally don't advise being in the first group, is all I'm going to say. Clayton Lee says, your Novus Ordo priest gives Holy Communion on the tongue immediately after Mass. That is so weird. I'm glad you can give communion that way, but that's so weird. A lot of people are in the chat are not liking RCIA right along with me. Healing thought spicy meatball kind of left Steve hanging at the end. I think something happened. I think his OBS just decided to stop working on him. I think he recorded that right around the same time that I was having OBS issues. Mimi says, that Archbishop Sample won't approve the SSPX. Yeah, I know. I like Sample, but, he's not perfect. There are bishops in this country who have gone to SSPX chapels and introduced themselves to the parishioners as their bishop. And was very friendly to them, very friendly to the priest, never had a problem with them. And others have a not-so-cordial relationship. It's so much is dependent on the local ordinary. Here in Oklahoma City, the SSPX and the local ordinary don't have a great history. Technically, I think there's before the Vatican really softened on the SSPX in the last few years, there was what do they call that? There was some sort of action taken by the Archbishop to try to get people to not go there, and it culminated with him getting the FSSP to open a second chapel in the state outside of Oklahoma City so that people would go there. So, Healing says he thinks it's because Steve said to be sure to like and subscribe. Yeah, he doesn't, Spicy Meatball himself doesn't do that himself. Alpie says that Sample's against trad orders. He seems to like it by the Benedict line of pretty version of the NO rather than what it actually is. Well, I mean, Sample taught himself how to say the Latin Mass, and the priest who said our wedding Mass was one of the right-hand men of Archbishop Sample in Portland, and he was trying to get us to have it as the Latin Mass, and we weren't ready for that. As I'm embarrassed to say publicly now. In hindsight, my wife and I are like, yeah, we should have just had a high Mass and been done with it. But, so I don't know how much I would agree with that statement, but at the same time, it was weird. It's weird that in Portland, the only places you can get a Latin Mass really are St. Stephen's, St. Brigida's, and then the Dominican parish has the Dominican traditional Latin Mass, which is beautiful. If you've never been to one, go. It's so nice. That Dominican parish, by the way, that Dominican priory, rather, in downtown, not really downtown Portland, but it's on the east side by the mall. It's got the reputation as being pretty hardline as parishes go compared to on the West Coast, one of the most hardline. So, and they have confession 6 days a week, maybe 7 days a week. So if you're at the lunch hour, 11 or 12, somewhere around there, look it up online. They have confession almost every day. Pretty handy, and they're about 2 blocks off the light rail, which in Portland makes it really handy. I know because I would often not want to go to my own parish priest for confession, so I knew of certain parishes that weren't far from where I was traveling on any given day of the week, and I would go there. And the Dominican, I miss that parish. It's such a beautiful place. Hello to Brandy Book. Brandy Book, glad you joined us. Cole says when he went through RCIA, the director was a huge modernist and really into James Martin theology. Well then, okay. I'm glad you survived. we were able to receive Holy Eucharist on the tongue. Great. At the end of the priest line only. Very grateful. Personally, one thing that I think I stopped doing when I was still towards the end of my time in going to Novus Ordo Masses was towards the end I only started receiving from the priest. It was just I can't reconcile the laity touching the Eucharist. Brandy Book, if you want to email me the St. Michael Chaplet information, just email me a reminder. Like I said, next Saturday will probably be an End Times Watch video or something like that. And I'm not streaming next Sunday because I will be traveling. So, see if Our Lady of Fatima is SSPX. They don't have faculties. Is Our Lady of Fatima the one in Garden Home, Portland? They have faculties. They just don't have probably a nice cordial relationship with the local ordinary, but they're not technically subject to the local ordinary. As confirmed by Pope Francis himself when he gave the SSPX, he recognized the right of the SSPX to ordain priests without the permission of the local bishop. Francis did that. That's why he's so confusing. Let's see. Have a nice day, Blue. Anyway. Let's see. Holy Rosary Parish is awesome. They do a High Dominican Rite Mass most Sundays now. Very good. That's the Mass I was talking about. I did like that place very much. El Pais, good that you went to confession. Please, everyone, go to confession regularly, monthly, every 2 weeks, whatever. My wife is going weekly, and she does it, and it makes me feel guilty. So, but I think she's closer to sanctity than I am, at least in my mind. So, Tom K says lots of Susans from the parish council. They run the parishes, so of course they also run the parish's RCIA. Yep. Not at my home parish though, although I don't know how much that's changed since the priest retired and a priestly fraternity that's not a traditionalist one took over. Healing in Portland says St. Agatha had a lone mass at 12:30. Father Juan, the St. Brigida, is now pastor there. Oh, very cool. Cole goes to an FSSPS parish now. Good. St. Cecilia in Beaverton has confession after all weekday masses and on the weekends. Yes, I do. I remember once making a trip all the way out there to go because I hadn't figured out where the other places on the other side of town were, so I rode public transit for an hour to go to confession there and found myself arriving during their mass, which was weird. Lorelei says going from James Martin RCA to TLM is like answering a calling with a calling. That is sort of how it feels, yes. Mike says his fiancée started RCIA this morning, lots of traditional-minded catechesis. You're hopeful. Great. Pray for his fiancée, please. Please pray for the fiancée. Pray for their coming marriage, too, please. Darius reminds us the Holy Spirit works in all of us, from the Pope to the average sinner, which maybe some things are hard to explain when they happen. Yeah, I suppose so. Pablo recommends the Lozier Institute for the remedies that they're pushing, and they research all the variations of it, and you can find out all the ingredients there. Mr. Baker, you haven't made a confession for months? I would go do it. Get yourself cleaned up. Trust me, you never know when something could happen. Camo, do they watch anime in RCA? No, they do not. The sonopho posture is... Well, that's good to know. All right, so... I am going to now check everyone's favorite modernist news site, novinanews.com. First headline. This is definitely a holdover from my doctoral dissertation. Eco-theologian Boff asserts this situation is more than a problem, is a call to change our relationship with Mother Earth. Fun fact, Boff was a Jesuit priest who went full-on apostasy because he was a major player in liberation theology. Yeah. Healing says, tried to go to Our Lady of Lavang last night. I never went there, but some of the seminarians that I thought were really cool that I met were from that parish, the Vietnamese parish in the city. They bought the mega church by the town center, still getting renovated. Yeah, they're a growing community, growing in the city of Portland. I'm happy for them. Although I'm not sure about the whole mega church thing instead of, having two parishes, but, whatever. Martin Slava says, ironically, his first time back in the confession box since March was at the Newman Center. Wow, the Latin Mass parish is still doing it outside, which makes you nervous. Yeah, I don't like confession outside. Newman Centers can be hit or miss too. I had a pretty decent experience even at the Newman Center that I was part of in Portland. Well, thank you, Mrs. Maidenname. I appreciate the kind words. Hello, Dr. Gemmel. Hope all is well. Dr. Mold. Miss Nancy was a good Catholic this week. Mother Earth is angry. Yes. I saw that line. I'm like, right. Yes, it's Mother Earth. Sure. All out of African Polar Bear says, I always pray for the priest when it comes to confession. They more than likely heard it all. Confession is the best way to build humility. I had a priest tell me once about some stuff he heard in confession. He didn't say like, oh, this person said that, and he didn't do it in a way that violated the seal. But man, yeah, pray for the priest. They hear things. I actually know a priest who couldn't absolve somebody without turning themselves in as their penance. Like, seriously, pray for them, especially like frankly, the urban priests in urban areas. Like, man, Sound of Crits. Funny question: can you play video games where priests are healers and the Pope, although it does not appear in game? It's a super good game, but this leaves me concerned. The Pope can fry the enemy. What game is this? Are you talking like? Is this like Assassin's Creed or something? I mean, what are you talking about? Interesting. Liberation theology was actually created by... Yep, it was. It was created by the employers of Belladad, is how I like to say that one. The employers of Belladad. The current Patriarch of Moscow was a primary disseminator of liberation theology and won the highest Soviet medal for his work. There you go. That doesn't surprise me. That actually does not surprise me, because he was instrumental he was extremely influential in the creation of Laudato Si. He's actually quoted extensively in that book. So there you go. Mr. Baker, he can't blame the affliction. No, you can't. If you were in a diocese where the sacrament was not available, I guess. I mean, I say I guess because I can't wrap my head around the thinking that says let's ban the sacrament of confession. Like, how? Like, how do you do that? On what planet is that even reasonable? But if it wasn't available, I mean, I don't know, like, there had to be, at that point, I'd be looking to find like a set of a Contest parish near me. As long as they would accept me being a Catholic, I'd go to confession with them, because they are valid priests, and it, at that point, is an emergency. Leanne Uhas, looking for a new parish. Your church is still not giving confession. Whoa, okay, yeah, I would, it's been like 6 months, folks. You know. Have a nice day, Hewling. Thank you for jumping in the super chat. Brandy Book says there's actually documentation on the Patriarch of Moscow on the subject in the Mitrokin archive. Oh, someday that would be a good... if that's available online, send me a link to that, because that would be a good source for a video someday once the self-authentication process is working a little more in my favor. Thank you for the blessing there, Jacqueline. I appreciate it. Mary Woolley, am I familiar with the Rosary of Our Lady of Tears? I am not. As long as from an approved place, I am interested, so email me. Sound of Crits. Zombie. Oh, it's a modification for StarCraft 2. Okay, that explains it. Basically, zombies come from the east to Europe, and you advance from Middle Ages to modern age and have to survive. Wrath of the Pope kills all the enemies. That sounds cool, but, yeah, you know. Do you know Francis' book on... Chris, I don't think his book is on the marital act. His book, he's got a book coming out on fraternity. It's not on that. He said some really wacky stuff about food and that recently, and sometimes I wish he'd not speak. Martin Eslava asks if it was Kirill or Bartholomew. Kirill is a staunch conservative and has on occasion stopped commemorating the ecumenical patriarch. I think it would have been Bartholomew that was getting cited by Francis. Lower Lyce's confession yesterday. He hadn't been since February. 2 chairs face to face in the lawn outside the rectory. Ugh. Yeah, I don't like this face to face confession thing that dominates in the Novus Ordo. Like, I hate it. Yes, I know once upon a time we all got up and confessed our sins in public at Mass. I don't want that anymore. I don't want this face-to-face, therapy session. Give me the confessional. Give me the, be hard with me if you need to be. That's fine, but I don't want, yeah. Poppy says, CMRI parishes don't check your set of a contest card. Yeah, but what I've heard is, like, if you try to go to Mass with the CMRI in, like, an emergency sort of situation, if you're from, like, the Novus Ordo, they're not going to accept you. That's what I've heard about the CMRI. Peter of Jerusalem just returned from a short pilgrimage to Our Lady of Walsingham, UK with the SSPX. Nice. So glad I discovered them before the thing. Yes. Deo gratias. Yes, definitely. I should do a video on Our Lady of Walsingham, but I missed the feast day, so I probably should wait till next year. Let's see. Meriduc Brandy book. It's available online. You'll send it with the St. Michael Chaplet. And I believe this is why Patriarch Carol and Francis are such good friends. Okay. Yeah, send it to me. Mrs. Maiden name. It's creepy. The first thing you look for was enclosed box with grill. Right. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, Mr. Baker, go to confession. If it's been 6 months, go. Go. Find someone. This is the thing, like, that I do not understand. Why, how can you deny, how can a bishop sit there with a straight face and think it's okay to deny the public access to the sacraments for months? Like, what? You know, on an individual basis, someone gets excommunicated. That is entirely different. But your entire community? Your entire flock? What? I don't understand this. Sound of Crit says face-to-face confession puts more pressure on you anyway. Nobody needs that. And of course, they remember your face. Yes. You know, the first priest I ever had, Novus Ordo priest, he always said, and he swore up and down this was true, that he could not remember confessions once he left the confessional. He had a weird grace that he couldn't remember them. Like, if someone pressured him outside the confessional, they'd have to, like, really dig at him for him to actually remember it. Like, he seriously couldn't remember what you confessed. Pretty cool to me. Paul's Wrath says, in California, we don't have to worry about putting just under ourselves repentance. Yeah. Prayers for California, please, in the whole West Coast. I mean, like I said earlier, I've got a bunch of articles about that whole situation, and I might do a write-up for the Sources blog, even if it's a very brief one, with sources to something that goes against the official narrative about all that. That's all I can say. It's definitely not something I could do as a video, but it's bad. Really bad. Pablo, have I read Sochi's book? Yes, I have. Thoughts? And Sochi's punchline to that book is that he thinks that there are two popes right now. I don't know if that's even possible. Do I know about the writings of Father Ronald Rollheiser? No, Suzanne, but if you want to send me a link to any online, let me know. AMDG reminds us that Tuesday is the Feast of Our Lady of Sorrows. It is, although I won't be doing a video for that day. But yes, it is the Feast of Our Lady of Sorrows. Mimi says she has a problem when the priest asks us to pray for Pope's intentions. I often forget that the prayers of the laity, or whatever they call it, is still a thing in the Novus Ordo. They don't do that at the Latin Mass, so, you know. Elbai says, pray for the Holy Father's Catholic intentions, or his just intentions, I think is how Dr. Marshall puts it. Those are good ways to do it. Dave Charette says, Our Lady of Walsingham would be interesting anytime. Right. I mean, the way I do those kind of things are sort of just a 1,000 feet looking down kind of thing on it. Very basic stuff. I mean, you could probably write a book. I'm sure people have written books on Our Lady of Walsingham. Peter Jerusalem says they are no longer concerned for souls. That's why they can withhold confession for months. I know, at least, it seems like that way. I know that's not true for all of them, but for some of them it's pretty apparent. Mr. Baker says that he doesn't think I think Benedict is still Pope. I'm torn on that question. I understand why people think he is, but it seems pretty clear that he doesn't think he is. That forgiveness also apply to his direction, because that could be a problem. Elpis, I don't know. I would assume if you're going in over and over and over again, he'll remember. But, 189 says, they almost sent me a link to a channel with some neat biblical typology. We found out the channel was set of a contest. Pretty sure I know which channel it is, and it's the one. There's very few times that I will come on a live stream and tell you, don't go to this place. But there's a certain set of a contest channel I will I'll definitely do that. I'm not against set of a contest per se, but if it's the Diamond Brothers, don't send me their stuff, please. VaticanCatholic.com. Yeah, right. Kimberly Tancredi says her former priest was like that also, sins forgotten. Yeah. I actually think that's a sign and evidence of God's grace working through the confessor. Brandy Book says she hates to say this, but in an emergency, you could also go to confession with the Orthodox validly. If they'll let you. If they'll let you. It's not a two-way street. Is Henry de Lubac a heretic? From what I hear, possibly. Sorry if that's not a more thing. I haven't really read too much of his work. That's why I said from what I hear. All Out of African Polar Bear says, the first confession after coming back to the faith after 15 years was life-changing. The homily that night was on the power of confession. I love well-timed homilies. I really do. Where like they're perfectly timed for you. Dominic says, pray for the Archdiocese of Edmonton in Canada. The Archbishop will be coming out with a statement on Monday presenting the new direction for the diocese. Oh boy. Doesn't mean what it sounds like. Dominic, would you send me a link to that when it's released, please? I want to, reach out a little bit beyond the, North American borders a little bit periodically, and that sounds spectacular. Opinion on the Anglican Ordinary at Liturgy. Never been. Want to go check it out, though. And I could drive 8 hours or 10 hours to Houston and go check it out. I think that's the nearest one to me. How do we hold the Pontific Maximus, head of priest of the mystery schools, accountable for heretical acts? How do you hold the Pope accountable? You don't. God does. You pray for his conversion. I don't know anything the laity can do. I don't think there is, except pray and fast. Elpi says, well, historically, one of the qualifications to be Pope was that the Church as a whole recognizes him. Right, and the Church as a whole recognizes Francis. I mean, there's always outliers. The Beniplenist position, as some people now call it, is an outlier position. It seems like a lot of people hold it, but that's because we're on the internet, and we're on the internet a lot. That's why we think people are like that. Donna, I probably can't read all everything you said there, but those prayer intentions you were asked to pray during Mass, that's ugh. When you hear that stuff, again, I would start looking for another parish. Mike Rogan says his priest always knows it's him in confession and he's fine with it. Yeah, if you're fine with it, that's great. I mean, I know my priest knows it's me. When I go with him. I don't actually go to my parish for confession much. I probably should start going back and doing that. Brandybook says the traditional intentions of the Holy Father are what you should be praying for. And they include very traditional things like the spread of the faith and the conversion of the world. Yes. At the end of the day, you just say you pray for the traditional intentions of the Holy Father, and that's what it is. And there's nothing wrong with that. Let's see. T189's channel is Maccabean Uprising. Okay, yeah, I've never even heard of that, but if it's not the Diamond Brothers, feel free to send me a link. Again, I don't have a problem with sedevacantists. I just think they're not correct on that one issue, really, and anything that might be like an ancillary to it. But I disagree with them, but I don't think that they're not Catholic. In fact, Father Jenkins of the SSPV is one of the best priests online as a teacher. He just is. Griff reminds us that the Institute Christ the King Sovereign Priest 40-day prayer drive starts tomorrow. The Rosary, Actus Contritionis, the St. Michael prayer, either version with the intention of reparation for sins against the divine kingship of Christ and mercy. Very good. Also, there is the Vicano's big Rosary thing going on too. That's been going on, I think, already. Byzantine priests will, if you ask them, several texts. So if you need to go to confession, Byzantines, go there. A priest talked to you about that game, just not to use that ability. I'd like to think if there was a zombie apocalypse going on, the Pope would be able to take care of that, Sidrew says, hello from Kansas. Well, hello to you. I'll be visiting a friend of mine who is another Catholic content creator next Sunday, so I won't be live streaming, and he lives in Kansas. So there won't be a live stream next Sunday. I'll be visiting a friend in Kansas. If you've been to confession but forgot to confess a sin, will that sin be forgiven? From what I understand, it's a temporarily sort of thing. Like, as soon as you remember it, you need to get back to confession and confess it. So yeah, but yeah, it's sort of if you honestly forgot it, that's not really your fault. As it's been explained to me, I could be wrong. Luke says he's never been there, but there's a tiny Anglican ordinary at Parish just outside of Springfield, Missouri. Ah, nice. Father von Falkenstein says he thinks what our Lord said about the scribes and Pharisees applies. Do what they say within reason, but don't follow their example. As they were usurping the throne of Moses, so is Bergoglio. If that, at the end of the day, I always say that when it comes to, if Francis comes out tomorrow with a just command, you got to follow it. If he tomorrow said, pray the rosary for, even if it's an issue you don't really like much, he can tell you got to pray as long as doesn't violate the natural law or violate the law of God. So, okay, fine. But has he ever done that? No. In fact, I can't think of a single example of any of the Novus Ordo Pontiffs, any of the popes from the council to today issuing a command to the laity like that. I can't think of a single example. I suspect it's because that a lot of them aren't fond of the infallibility. Tom K is not looking forward to the next encyclical. Thinks it's going to be embarrassing. As I said on my video on this, he has had 3. This will be his 3rd encyclical, and every single one of them has just been eye-opening. AMDG reminds people to fill their holy water fonts in their home. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Mr. Baker says the local Anglo-Catholic church does the Tridentine Mass, but it's not valid being Anglican. Right. Go stick to the sacraments from Catholic Church if you can, please. Why don't I confess to my parish priest? Because I have a priest. There's a Novus Ordo priest who is a good confessor, and his parish is 2 minutes from my house. That's most of the reason why I don't like delaying driving. Driving 90 miles and when not in a state of grace is. Maybe next week though. I'll try to remember, because before driving 3 hours from Tulsa to central Kansas, it's probably a good idea for me to go to confession. He saw some interesting tricks on the Latin Mass. They think there's a pressure to give communion to hand to them. Well, good luck. The priests, any of the Latin Mass priests that I've ever encountered, any of the priestly fraternities, they're not fond of, they will not do communion on the hand. Pablo says he thinks instead of a conscience that they love the faith, they're just wrong in their conclusions. That's generally what I think, that they've come to the wrong conclusion. And I can't blame them. We live under the diabolic disorientation that has entered the church. The smoke of Satan, if you will. That's where we are. I don't hold anybody against anybody who comes to the wrong conclusion about some of this stuff. If you embrace modernism, that's a little weird to me. I can't wrap my head around that one. Victor Early says, even Orthodox Catholics recognize Francis as Pope. When God decides we deserve a better Pope, we will get one. Until then, first Saturday and Rosary. Right, there was a homily from Father Shannon Collins on Sensus Fidelium where that video got a lot of downvotes because he basically said that Francis is the perfect Pope for this generation. He's a perfect Pope. It's one we deserve. Think about that one. Darius D says the only sin you'll be excommunicated for is the sin of traditionalism. Almost seems like it. You get a little too hardline on the trad stuff like Feeney, and you get booted to the side. Lorelei says, join the 54-day novena started by Archbishop Vigano on LifeSite News. It's wonderful. Yes, I need to jump in on that. It started without me being aware. Let's see. Where are we on time? Okay. Maria says, St. Stephen's is a high mass every Sunday. Wish my parish had a high mass every Sunday. But we have one priest saying 5 masses on Sundays or something. It's so weird right now. Well, you have a nice day, Patch. I do plan to try to stream again this week, if possible, so we'll see. Springfield is where the U.S. Assemblies of God headquarters are located. Oh, okay. Let's go check my favorite headline site, Canon 212, see if anything's going on. Pontifical Academy for Life gets all Bureau of Land Management to E. Oh, Frank Walker never change. I can't read half of these as usual. Idiot vicar of the temperature. To those of you who pray, I ask you to pray for me, and to those who not pray, at least send me good vibes. I need it. What? Did he really say that? I'm going to now do a search on this actual... Did he actually... Wow. Oh my God. Wow. Wow. Apologies for nearly slipping into something really no Catholic should ever say, but wow. I dare say everything is harmonious, Francis continued. The thing has also proved it. Human flourishing cannot be separated from that of the environment in which it lives. We need a real will to tackle the root causes of the ongoing temperature upheavals, Francis insisted. Generic commitments are not enough. Words, words. To those of you who pray, I ask you to pray for me. And to those who do not pray, at least send me good vibes. I need it. I should laugh. It's just so horrible. Do I believe that the water from Lourdes is more spiritually powerful than regular holy water? From what I understand, the water of Lourdes has miraculous properties to it. Sidra will not be going all the way up to Wichita. Son of Crits, what do I think of moving a bunch of tribes into Luxembourg and taking it over? We can have our own little monarchy. It's a common joke in gaming circles to take over Luxembourg. I suspect they'd be able to resist it. They managed to remain a monarchy in the middle of stonecutter Europe. So they must be doing something right. Although, fun fact, Sound of Crits, I'm 99% certain that in Charles Colombe's Star-Spangled Crown, the monarch of America was the monarch of Luxembourg. I'm pretty sure it's the same one. That's where he comes from. He just never says what country, but he describes it in such a way that it's like Luxembourg or maybe Malta. So, fam, there was I was reading from a Breitbart article about Francis, and it's just so wonderful. Yeah. Someone like Mimi loves Frank Walker, doesn't always agree with him, but he reminds you of your uncles. Yeah, we don't have to agree with everybody. Frank Walker's great, though. Yes, Pope Francis says, for those who don't pray, at least send him good vibes. He needs it. Yeah, he said that. Tom K., if you want to make a general confession but can't make it a spiritual retreat, how do you make it? Seems like they take a long time to make, which is why they're done at retreats, right? Yeah, I would assume you can make a general confession in that way to a priest by an appointment, since they take long. Is daily evening mass a good devotion? I mean, daily mass in general is a good devotion if you can go. I don't have access to my parish mass every day, so I would love to be able to start going to daily mass again, though. Is spicy meatball what? 1980, 189. I don't know what you mean. Go see. Am I a monarchist? If not, what do you think of monarchist? I call myself a monarchist. I'm much more concerned about the political here and now, though, than I am with. It's a theoretical thing that will only happen after things get so bad that people are practically begging for a monarch, for a strong leadership, and they'll probably take the the guy in the shiny boots with the swanky uniforms and the total disregard for liberal notions of freedom first, which will then enable a monarch to arise. That's usually how it works. Consider myself a monarchist, but I don't spend a lot of time on it. 189. Spicy meatball not offensive to your ears, very foul mouth. I'm not a guy who gets bothered by cursing by 4-letter words as long as they're not using, like, I don't like the words related to reproduction. I don't like that stuff so much, but cursing doesn't bother me. I had a priest once explain that it's not so much a sin to use those words as it is to use them around people who get bothered by them, who get scandalized by it. And so, yeah, I make an effort. One of the things I did when I entered the church, one of the first things I did was to stop. The very first thing before I worked on anything else was the Lord's name in vain. I did my best to break that habit. And that was one of the first things. And from there, 4-letter words became much more rare in my lexicon than they used to be. Mrs. Maidename just made a general 40-odd-year confession. Wow. Sound of Crits has a master plan for making Luxembourg a tried Catholic stronghold. Ghosty says, the only TLM at your parish is a daily mass. It is the mass that interests you, the TLM, and convince you to seek it out. Wow. Well, if you're questioning whether you should go to go to a daily mass, I would go at least a few times a week. JS Newcomb, do I think we should not receive it all for the time being, if not allowed on the tongue and kneeling? I tend to side with Bishop Schneider on that. That's what I did. Like I say as much in my video this week on, if you haven't seen it, I have a video from a couple days ago about that question, and I generally side with Bishop Schneider, with the Bishop of Kazakhstan on that. Chevalier, if the sovereign in Canada comes to your door to take you to super happy fun time retreat center, you tend to resist with full force. Would this be sinful? I don't think so, but I would find a traditionalist priest and ask their opinion on that. And to make sure you tell your mom that you're being prayed for. My mother is not Catholic, so she's not. Pray for the conversion of my family, though. Which sacrament do good vibes sit under? The sacrament of group hugs, man. Father Altman can definitely use written support to his bishop. James Martin has been causing him problems. Yeah, Victor, I'm going to do a video on that later in the week. I'm going to have a slightly different take than everybody else, and no, it's not a Father Altman bad video, but it's going to be a different take than most people have. Dr. Mold, how long until the church is advocating a one-child policy? That the church will never advocate that. It'll be the ape of the church that advocates that. It will never be the church, though. 2 popes. Benedict XVI is still a pope with the power to loose and bind, and he steps down and passes authority to another. That is what crosses your mind. Actually, my thought, Anne, is that you're likely to see Francis and Benedict go to their judgments. Probably, my suspicion is correct, you're going to see them happen pretty close to each other. I almost think it'll happen before another conclave is called, and I suspect Benedict will go first. From natural causes, of course. But if I had to guess, because I cannot imagine this situation being allowed to persist for all that long. I don't know, Sentinel Fortune, I don't know enough about St. Bede's lifestyle. If you want to email me something like something about it, I'll take a look, though. Thanks, Chris Boone, for the well wishes. Let's see. Leading on forward, wonder that part of the Third Secret Family was for the Pope to condemn communism. Then it will go in history where John the 23rd and those after him who say the contrary support. I had a Latin phrase for that. That's not what you mean. The fundamental building block of America and the First Amendment. That's not speech. But I actually used the RL language once in a video and it got flagged. So there you go. I'm more on the third secret has to do with the council. That's why it was 1960. $189 says he thinks the language only bugs him because he talked like that not too long ago. Yeah, I understand that. I mean, he'll be the first to tell you that his show's not for everybody. Matt Harris says, at the oratory where you attend Latin Mass, where you're cursed to use hand sanitizer, why not put holy water in it? 1 squirt, sanitize hands, then make the sign of the cross. I know that there are priests using those dispensers to put holy water in. Jacovo, am I a convert? Yes. You're going to find a lot of your commentators are converts, actually, and I think that has to do with that weird convert zeal. Is there anything special when making a general confession? Like, do we inform the priest beforehand that the confession will be a general one? I think it would probably be a good idea to schedule a general confession with the priest, and make sure you read up on how to do a general confession properly. It'd probably be a good idea to do that. $189 says Father Altman sent him a handwritten note for a tiny donation to his parish. Oh, that's cool. I'd hang on to that. You'd like to discuss with my platform how to build a similar platform here in Canada. You're on disability and have time to do something for the faith. That is simple. Start a channel, figure out what you're going to talk about, and understand how you have to be careful with talking about things on this platform. But this is a good time, I think. And there are people in Canada doing it. I would go check out the Theology of the Buddy podcast. I've had them on before. They're on the audio. They're mostly audio only, but they're up in Canada, and they have a more Canadian focus. And I'll say the same thing to anybody in Europe or South America, anywhere you are. If there's a lack of this kind of material that really focuses on where you're from, do not be afraid to do it. But remember to know your limits, to have the proper respect for even the hierarchy, members of the hierarchy you don't really care for. You know, remember your place. We are in a hierarchical church, as much as it stings to remind ourselves of that. But, you know, there is room for this, just as long as your intentions are right and you do it for the right reasons, you know. Tyler Nowotny is Father Altman, a Novus Order priest. As far as I know, he is, yes. How do you get in contact with me? There's an email in the description box of every one of my videos. Go open another video. It's one of the first, and then there's that box below the screen. It'll be in there. Copy, paste it. I have over 200 emails in my inbox, so make sure your subject line is something that I can catch quickly. I think I have it under control now, the inbox situation, because I finally had to block somebody who every single day was sending me like 5 to 10 emails with like pictures of book pages and videos and things with no explanation. It was just like boom, 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 boom every single day, and it's just I was getting buried in emails. So I finally had it, like, it was, you know, no talking sense to them. So, and I don't like doing that at all, but I've got so many emails. I need to catch up. So make sure you put in that subject line, you know, something that'll catch my attention. Peter of Jerusalem Francis can still live another decade at least, right? Most likely, possibly, but who knows? Who knows? Aaron G is with me on the non-Catholic family issue. How to deal with it is to pray for them. Pray and fast for their conversion. Offer your rosary every day for it. And leave it in Our Lady's hands. Kevin raises St. Faustina cringe. I'm not a fan. The Divine Mercy Chaplet I don't have a problem with by itself. But there's just a lot of weird stuff with there. I personally am not a fan, but the prayer itself is fine, I think. As long as you don't use it to replace your rosary. Do not replace your rosary with that. Gasper Martin, I think they're going to have a, you know, he says he believes they're going to crash the economy till New Year so they can start their Novus Ordo Seclorum plans. I would tend to agree. I think what you should look at is call it the mega reboot. That's what I'm calling it, because pretty sure what they're calling it is actually another flag term, but that they're pretty open about it, and I think that's why they've. I mean, they're talking. I think they realized that all their like environmental stuff isn't just selling anymore. Lord Fam says, Father Isaac called wearing masks. Insert the R word. If you mean the R word for the involving mental faculties, yeah, I think I've heard him say that. You know where you can tithe and give to your church since corrupted churches? You can do it directly to your parish priest. You know, give them gift cards for groceries or something like that. You can give to like any traditionalist order seminarian fund, building projects for your parish, that kind of thing, you know, or to a Catholic charity that isn't actually completely converged. I also notice how many Catholic channels here on YouTube are converts. Yeah, Sound of Crits, like I said, it's a lot of almost all of them are converts. Almost. I think Tim Gordon is a cradle Catholic. Trad Patrick is a cradle Catholic. The Trad Economist is a convert. He says they all say this stuff on their shows, so I'm not outing anybody. But it's a mix. But I think on balance, it's mostly converts. Which news sites do I follow daily? I watch a lot of Tim Pool. I do check things if I ever think I don't distrust him, but I like news aggregators for Catholic stuff. I like checking LifeSite for Catholic things. I check Canon 212 pretty frequently. I'm checking Marco Tossati's website more and more frequently because he gets scoops that it takes like a week or longer for the American outlets to talk about. Like, I had a Vegano letter up a week before everybody else did. It was weird. I was like, come on, where are you guys at on this? So, but I check a lot of different places. Ludemont says all previous Vatican councils condemn errors before Vatican II. Therefore, why would not the Blessed Mother tell the Pope to condemn that error, and then Vatican II could be accepted? I don't know, but it was a bone of contention that they overtly rejected that, doing just what you ask. Laura, if you're think about starting a channel, If you want to know like tech stuff you need, I'm not big on the cult of show your face. I think that's a fast track to making it about yourself. That's why I don't do it. Well, that and I'm fat. Trying to lose the weight. When I lose enough weight, I'll probably go on camera for some live streams. But email me if you want like tech stuff. I can, very basic entry-level tech stuff. And Dr. Mold, I was about to answer your question. I lagged. Have I ever seen that high-ranking Moloch Advisors art collection? Yes, I have. Some of it, anyway. Has anyone ever discussed the fact that the English crown and the Law Society, which is beholden to them, have violated their obligations to only enforce biblical, truthful laws? I don't think anybody has. But people, if that's like part of the law of their country, then they have got a major problem. Peter of Jerusalem is thinking of starting something on YouTube for more European audience. Cool. Just, again, be careful. And I always tell people, don't make it about yourself. Don't turn it into a personal authority thing. I'm practically notorious for pointing out that I don't have much authority. I listened to Michael Matt from Minnesota. I listened to his new video this morning. I've been listening to The Remnant for a long time. Aaron, I did a video on the 100-year, the 1929 to 2029 thing for Fatima. I already did a video on that a couple of months ago, probably. Thanks for Thomas McIntosh. I appreciate that comment. I do like hearing those things because sometimes I get kind of like wondering if I'm doing things that are just too dangerous. And so hearing things like what I'm about to read always makes me always is a bit of a boost to me. Thanks to you, I've rediscovered my faith. Wow. Found a local church with full pews, practicing full sacraments, began the conversion process today. To be baptized by Easter. Keep up the good work. Good. Get baptized. Enter the church. And know this, that sort of weird high you get from entering the church, that buzz is temporary. It does go away, sadly. Luke Toole says the Father Altman says both the Novus Ordo and the TLM. Okay, he's a priest who says what we call the indult mass, which is probably going to be the norm again soon. Sound of Chris, do I think about the Rosary, 7 stars or standard Rosary? Don't use a 7 stars Rosary to replace your regular Rosary. It's a different prayer entirely. Is the standard Rosary better? Do you fulfill Our Lady's request by the sorrowful or only the standard? I pray the standard Rosary daily. I've done the 7 Sorrows Rosary. I need to find my 7 Sorrows Rosary so I can pray that one as an additional periodic devotion. But I don't recommend replacing your daily Rosary with a Sorrowful Rosary, or with anything anyway. John D. Horton from Lawton, Oklahoma is in the house. I've lived in Oklahoma now for 3 years, but I've never been to Lawton. It's a bit of a drive. Do you know about the Auxilium Christinatorium app? I think I have that app. I just never use it. Pretty good Dragon Slayer tool. God bless and stay humble. Well, I should go check that out after I'm done with the stream. Mimi watches One American News. I don't know if I can get on board with that. I don't think part of the allegiance to a political party or any American political ideology is a good idea for a Catholic. Honestly, the roots of our country and the stonecutters cannot be denied, and people who deny it or try to say this is a crypto-Catholic country really need to rethink what they're saying. I agree with LifeSite. Paul Perla says, Divine Mercy was initially condemned. The Diary of D.M. has doctrinal issues conflicting with Trent, among other things. Yes, Ascent of Mount Carmel on YouTube has a great series explaining this, and when he did that series, a lot of people got mad at him. A lot of people, those comments, you read them, people were vicious. But he's not saying anything that's not true. And if you've got questions about the Charismatic Catholic movement, he's been doing that lately, and I'm sure he's been getting hate for that too. So I typically watch YouTube at home on my TV, actually. My 4K Blu-ray player has a YouTube app, so I linked it, and I can watch YouTube videos on my giant TV, which is great. And I watched his latest on the Charismatic renewal. Tom K. I think Tosati is a great source, and he's underutilized by people out here. I'm trying to go more and more towards original sources close to the Vatican, and doesn't get much closer than Marco Tosati. He's really good, and he's 100% like, 100% Catholic. Father Von Falkenstein is asking if anybody knows of an online shop where you can buy custom-made Catholic devotionals. He's trying to buy St. Michael Chaplet with Latin text beginning of St. Michael prayer, but could not find it. So if anybody knows of a place for that kind of thing, let me know. I'm not going to probably be on for much longer. Spent half the day driving and I like to spend a little time with the family, so I'll probably clock out here in a couple minutes. But how do you pick which people to listen to? You used to be an atheist and you find many prophets, old and new, and proved by the church, contradict themselves. It's been detrimental to your faith. I don't know if they're contradicting themselves or contradicting each other. It's more, I think it's a lot of the problem with some of the stuff is that they're not, how do you put this? There's sort of a big picture, and some of the stuff that they've predicted have already come to pass, and I think people are sometimes reading some of those things as things that have yet to come. Dr. Mold says Tim Pool is great, but do you think he's gone too much as a supporter of the president? No, I don't think he has. He spends half of his time, it seems like, apologizing for it or saying, well, he's got my vote, but. And I was like, okay, but. Get smart. How he says his spidey sense are telling that they are going to try to cancel Christmas. How do you prevent this? I don't know how they would be able to do that. I can't imagine the business sector letting that happen. Like, the Christmas season is what keeps retail alive in this country. Let's see. Sentinel of Fortune is optimistic about the future of the church. So am I. I just think we just need to get through this period. The church is... our Lord wins in the end, so... Oh, yes, Peggy, I do like Catholic Family News as well. I do very much like Catholic Family News. Let's see. Oh, excuse me. The part about Sister Faustina avoiding the judgment was also written by St. Thomas, and it's a theological nuanced way of saying one can die in a state of perfection with no sins attached. Yeah. I don't know. I try to stay out of the Sister Faustina stuff as much as I can, just as that whole debate. The Institute Christ the King Sovereign Priest had the Latin version of the St. Michael prayer today. Oh, yeah, me getting up at 1 o'clock in the morning is definitely catching up with me. What are my thoughts on Vatican Catholic, Lisa? I do not recommend the Diamond Brothers. Let me put it this way. It seems like when they talk that the only people who left in the world are Catholic and the few people that hang on with them. I would not use their content. Even if some of the material they do is very knowledgeable, they make statements that go way across the line. When you say you expect the indult mass to be the norm soon, what I mean is that it's going to go back to being the indult. It's going to go back to pre-Summorum Pontificum soon. That's what I suspect. That won't affect the FSSP or anything like that because they already operate at the pleasure of the bishop. But that's what I mean. Sidra says EWTN has gone downhill. Yeah, the only thing I ever watch really there, and it's not very often, is Raymond Arroyo. But I'm going to call it here because I am yawning way too much to be any use to, guys. So, yeah, thanks for joining us. Thanks for the super chats, those of you who sent them in, and have a blessed Sunday. I will try to stream later in the week, so watch for that announcement. It'll be a few hours ahead of time. I'll probably make the thing. So, anyway, y'all have a nice